Tuesday greetings, my friends. Hello, hello. Clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Clap 3 times because it's a tradition. Wow. We're so good. We're working on it. I'm proud of you all. Welcome to Tuesday Group. We meet weekly here at the Grand Ely Lodge. Most generally, you may recall recently, we were so generous as to let a couple get married here on a Tuesday, so we gave up our reservation. So we are nimble, we are adaptable, we can go elsewhere, but we do love the Grand Ely Lodge and appreciate the staff, and we have had this relationship for many years. Yeah. So we meet every week at Tuesday to learn something new in community with one another and often from our neighbors. And we have this tradition of hosting a Meet New Elyites program, and we'll get to that soon. But one of the other traditions associated with Tuesday Group is the opportunity to make a community announcement. Does anybody have a community announcement? Mr. Elton Brown usually does. Well, let me tell you what, I've already told some fine folks this, but I host the What's Up Ely podcast, which is a program of the Visit Ely-area Tourism Bureau. Every other episode, we do an event roundup. So, hey, here are things that you might want to put on your calendar. And we try to focus on events that are open to, relevant to local folks, as well as open to tourists, guests, visitors, friends. And I was sort of ignorant to what the summer season being upon us meant until I sat at my computer yesterday to try to do the event roundup. I was like, I'll try to do a preview of the summer. And then I spent 7 hours just looking up June events. There is so much to do. So in lieu of a traditional announcement, I'll just say, y'all, there's so much going on. Can we popcorn resources that people look to see what's up in Ely? Anyone shout it out? The Ely Summer Times is a wonderful resource to know what's going on. There's an events calendar. There's a section for attractions and hikes and things that are kind of ongoing. Any other places people look to? What's Up Ely Facebook group? Very dynamic space. You and 33,000 of your best friends.
Wow.
Sharing your thoughts and feelings.
Ely.org.
Ely.org, yes, has an events calendar that you can pursue. And if you're looking for a specific, events in a specific range, you can toggle that and filter for a specific timeline. The What's Up Ely podcast. And my favorite one is word of mouth. One of the taglines of the podcast is word of mouth makes the world go round, y'all. So when you hear about an event, just be sure to tell a friend, right? Invite your friends, maybe even. I will say, as a member of the folk school board, we have our 10th birthday events this weekend. So you can paddle a traditional Ojibwe hand-built birch bark canoe on Friday at Seamers Park Beach. You can go to a potluck dinner at the Ely Folk School and watch a video that our friend and neighbor Brett Ross made, a retrospective of 10 years of the Ely Folk School. And then on Sunday, you can come to a true barn dance. We're having an actual hootenanny out at Ethel's Acres, the horse farm that Rosa Osterreich and her husband Grayson recently bought off of 169 in Robich Road. So information about that can be found on elyfolkschool.org. Any other community announcements? Yes, Carol.
Beginning this weekend, the film Lily, which is about the Lily Ledbetter Supreme Court case. I think AAUW requested that it be shown, so it will be shown through the coming week at least.
Wonderful. That is a good reminder. Speaking of Ely's Historic State Theater, Boundary Waters Connect did produce a film with Bear Witness Media. It's called The Story of Us. And my friend M. Baxley and I took a week-long artist retreat at the Tofty Lake Center and made sort of a metaphor and analogy about the strife that we experienced as two people trying to share a cabin and create something good and wholesome. We made a metaphor between that and what it's like to live in a small community. in 2025. So if you have ever had any strife or rupture in a relationship with a friend or a neighbor, I encourage, or a family member, I encourage you to consider joining me at Ely's Historic State Theater on Tuesday, June 17th at 7 p.m. for a showing of The Story of Us on the big screen. You can see me cry. It's a central part of the plot. Yes, Joy, do you have a community announcement? Yes, tonight is the first market in the park, Ely Farmers Market and Arts in Ely. Thank you. All right, well, I always forget this, so Elton, I'm channeling your energy. Next week's Tuesday group presentation will be an artist's bold assertion that we should have guaranteed income for artists for economic growth in the 21st century. I think it's going to be very interesting. So that's June 10th. June 17th, we'll be hearing from Ingrid Lyons and Becky Rom, an update from the campaign to save the Boundary Waters. And on June 24th, we're going to be hearing from Gerald Naemi, last name pronunciation to be confirmed, author of a book with many glorious visuals, The Breeding Birds of Minnesota. So there will be book sales as well as a visual heavy presentation for all you bird nerds out there. And to be bird nerds, yes?
I looked up the woman who will be speaking next week. And she's an amazing artist, amazing person. So I encourage you to come.
Yeah.
Or they, I'm not sure what her pronouns are.
They, them pronouns. All right, well, let us hear from Randy and kick off this wonderful next edition of the Meet New Elyites program of Tuesday Group. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. We've got a great group today and it's a full house. So anybody taking notes, write fast. We have a new intern for the Echo here. Harmony's her name. Echo, right?
You were right, I was
Okay. Anyway, so we're gonna kick it off with David and Aaron, who are doing a fantastic job on the old Ladybug Lodge, which is now Lakeview Lodge. So. Either way, whatever you're comfortable with.
Hi, I'm David. This is my wife, Erin.
Hello.
So January 2nd, we bought the Ladybug Lodge, now Lakeview Lodge. We've been doing lots of renovations. I don't want
You want to click it?
So products and services that we do offer, we are open seasonally, made early October. We have 10 rental cabins, many pontoon boats. Every cabin comes with a pontoon boat as well. We do rent pontoons to multiple lakes in the area if anybody ever needs it. We do half days and full days on Chagua, and we have a 2-day minimum in other lakes.
We'll also do the winterization and storage.
Yes.
Yep.
Winterization and storage for any boats that are needed. These are some of the insides and outsides of some of the cabins. Cabin 1, we just put a new deck on it. Cabin 5 is completely renovated on the inside. That is cabin 9, which is a 7-bedroom, 4-bathroom cabin. We have done floors, ceilings, roofs, bathrooms, everything. And we've had it for about a year.
You've been busy.
Yes, very busy. We also, right here is, oh, there you go. Right here is our lodge. We do have coffee, espresso, and ice cream if anybody wants to stop by and say hi. Multiple cabins there, all around, and we winterize and store all the boats up top here. And who we are. So we moved here from Florida. Before Florida, we did live in Wisconsin. My wife is from Apple Valley, Minnesota. I've lived all over the place, so I can't really say I'm from anywhere in particular. Well, we were in Florida for 15 years. Most of our vacations were coming up to the Midwest. All of our families lives in and lived in Wisconsin. And we enjoyed it so much and got so sick of the heat that we decided to come home back. We picked Ely because we love the area, we love the town. We wanted to be somewhere close to where you didn't feel like you were out in the middle of nowhere, you could still come to something. Prior to purchasing the resort, I worked in distribution sales and so did my wife. I worked for a company called Cheney Brothers. So I sold everything you could think of, everything you see on your tables to restaurants, resorts, hotels. And my wife worked for a liquor and wine distributor, and she sold wine and liquor to multiple restaurants, resorts, and hotels as well. One day we decided we just finished building a brand new house in Florida, and we said, you know what? Let's sell it, move up here and buy a resort.
Want me to chime in on that?
Sure.
We lived in it for 6 months.
Oh my God.
Since it's just my wife and I, we don't have anybody relying on us, so we figured why not take some chances, have some fun.
Except for the 2 poodles in the lower right picture.
Casino and Theo. Casino will be 18 this year, and Theo will be 15.
And that photo was taken here.
Yes.
As we stayed a couple nights before moving in at the resort, because we live on the property there.
I have a question. How did you become so knowledgeable about construction?
Well, trial and error.
Lots of trial and errors, David.
My dad is very handy. Everybody in my family's handy, and I've always helped them with stuff. So it kind of, when you got to get it done, it's got to get done. So that's really it. Didn't expect it to be quite as crazy as our first year was, but now I feel like we're a well-oiled machine with a small leak.
Another,
Yes.
how far in advance do you hope, or do people need to book a cabin? If I have family or if I want to book one?
I can
Go for it.
We do have a nice regular clientele that does book year to year. So like this week is full because we have a lot of that, but we definitely have good availability. So if you're looking for family or friends yet for July, August, September, we do have availability. Yes.
And for any type of boats, we would recommend a little notice because we are filling up quickly.
Yeah, we love to do a half day or a full day on Chagawa. It's very convenient. For the other area lakes, we have a 2-day minimum, and we would definitely recommend a little advance for that as well. Because those do book out fast. I got a phone call today for somebody wanting to book next summer, so. The earlier the better to make sure that we can accommodate you.
That's just one more. Oh, yeah, I think you covered all that.
And it's just the 2 of us. We don't have any employees. We do it all ourselves.
We've got some good family help. My parents actually just purchased a little cabin a half a mile up the road from us, so they plan on being active and helping us in the summer. And then David's uncle comes and stays for 2 months of the year, and he's helped us with a lot of the painting that you may have seen done on the property. We've gotten all the cabins exterior matching, and then he does a lot of the deck repair. So we do have some good help from our family and then some friends help as well, so.
That's it.
You guys do for fun.
Work.
I did have that on the slide. David loves fishing. That was definitely something that attracted us to the area. We love hikes. I'm a big cyclist, so I love being so close to the Mesabi Trail. I love to just shoot around Chagawa, so we love just being outside. So also makes it a great fit for us.
I have now become a very big ice fisherman because it seems to be the only time I have time to fish.
You may recognize when you see David on Chagawa fishing though, because he brought his boat from Florida here. So it will be the only turquoise flats boat out on Chagawa, very recognizable, so. But I do, thank you so much for having us and the opportunity to introduce ourselves and stop on by. We're not always in the lodge, but we're always on the property. We have ice cream, coffee, like David had mentioned. We sell some apparel, so you certainly can come in and say hi to us. We're always there.
I just want to say Becky and I rented the pontoon boat from them, and they were great to work with. So, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Tracy Covisto. And I'm not sure how we met or got introduced, but she's a new Ely-ite.
It's okay. It happens.
Who's this?
Sure, I think that's easier than that.
Can everyone hear me? Thanks, Lacey. Hello, my name is Tracy Coivisto, and I did just earn the privilege of calling myself a local Ely-ite. I've been here for 1 year, so thanks for having me. 1 year officially. I brought a few pictures. Do I have a, is this the advancer? That's the front, yes, you go that one. I am 50% Finlander, so there are times where my introversion might step in and I lose my words. So I thought I'd bring a few pictures just in case that happened. My parents are from the Iron Range. They grew up in Embarrass, Minnesota, and I have other family here on both sides. I left Minnesota in 2000, and so I've taken a big detour before returning back here to Minnesota. I have spent the last 20 years in Colorado. And after chasing a dream to be a dog sled musher in Alaska, I ended up in Colorado after being in Alaska for a few years. The dream's still alive. I could end up mushing sled dogs here, maybe. But if you already know me, you've probably heard me talk about my love for plants and herbalism and all of the amazing attributes that most of our local flora and fauna have. So I'm a clinical herbalist in my truest nature. I'm a nutritionist. I have spent the last 7 years managing organic medicinal herb farms in Colorado. And oftentimes people, when they hear me say I'm from Colorado and I'm an herbalist, they assume I'm talking about cannabis, but I'm talking about just these beautiful garden plants that are amazing and healing in a myriad of ways. So this is my garden in Colorado. Sure, towards the computer. Oh, yeah. But if not, that's on me. Yeah. And also, if you already have met me, you may have likely heard me talk a lot about my dog, Fern. She is the love of my life and a joyous Labrador mix that there's a picture of as well. So if you see her and I around town, we are Birch and Fern together. My last name in Finnish means grove of birch trees. So it's made most sense that I feel most comfortable when I'm with the birch and the fern next to the lake. And so I was thinking a lot about all the seeds that I've planted in my entire life and being a lifelong gardener with my mom and my dad, and also how many figurative seeds I've been planting since my childhood as a way to return to Ely at some point in my life. In Colorado, I lived on 30 acres and spent most of my days caretaking a large horse farm, while I also raised gardens and worked for the Colorado School of Clinical Herbalism. So I am now teaching sometimes at the folk school, so you might have seen me there as well. But as I mentioned, seed planting is definitely something that I physically and figuratively have done, metaphorically have done for most of my life. And so thinking about what I wanted to share today, I was going back through my iPhone, which is now turned into this like scrapbook that you can carry with you of photo memories that also have a timestamp on them. And I realized how many times in a moment that I was moved by inspiration or awe or wonder while I was back in Minnesota and snapped a photo. And in that moment, likely planting a seed that would end up developing the growth for me to return back home.
So here on the left is one of my Colorado gardens. On the right here is when I was here in Ely in about 2017. And I was out at my aunt and uncle's house and I came across this beautiful birch forest with the ferns and the wild roses. And I just remember thinking of how much I felt at home in that moment. So there I planted a seed. And eventually I would change my business name to Birch and Fern in honor of my last name and now my dog, of course, but in honor of this place. And so the medicine of place and the sense of place has also been a really important guide on my journey, and just knowing the story and history of an area and being connected to the forest. I also planted another seed one day to Fern, my beloved little dog, that she would be here with her cousin Arrow, who was the other golden, and her friend Finn, and they would run like the wind and live their best life. That was another seed I planted. This picture here is when I was here in 2021. And just took a moment and thought, wow, how amazing would it be to walk around this lake every day? And here we are now in 2025. This is one of our regular routes every week that Fern and I walk. Another time in 2021, I thought I could talk my current boyfriend at the time to moving to Ely, but taking him here to swim in October maybe wasn't the most convincing. And that trip, I also learned he was afraid of water, and I had put him on a boat with my mom and I for the first time in the very cold fall. But that did not work.
Better off without it.
True. Another time I was here saying goodbye to my grandmother Vi in Aurora, and I happened to be driving up from the cities in the worst ice storm ever, probably in April. And cars were flying off the road left and right, and all of a sudden this huge yellow truck pulled up in front of me. And I was like, okay, this is like my guiding car. And we drove together like that for a whole hour. And both pulled into the hotel room in Hoyt Lakes. And I looked over and it turned to be a carload full of my cousins. In that moment, I was like, huh, that was nice. It's pretty nice to be around family again, which I hadn't been in so many years. Another time in 2021 on the left, I was walking down the storefronts and thinking about this red building here and how cool it might be to have some of my apothecary goods in a storefront like that. Here in 2025, my cousin Kara Poliner happens to be the owner of the Ely Mercantile. And I do in fact have my apothecary goods on a shelf that needs to be restocked, by the way, in the early Ely Mercantile. So all of these seeds that I was planting along the way, these wishes and hopes are now here, growing roots up in Ely. I have a birch and fern apothecary line where I try to harvest as locally and ethically as possible, growing a lot of my plants, harvesting from the woods, and creating remedies for health and healing after a long career in education as a master's of holistic health and clinical herbalism. So you can find me in there. The shelves will be restocked shortly. But in 2023, in October, my cousin Kara Poliner, whom some of you may know, started talking about this storefront she was having and how cool it would be for me to finally come up to Ely and return. And I gave it some more serious thought at that time. I was single, I was free to kind of come. And then in November, I came to the Brainerd area to spend time with my mom. And in that moment, I noticed that she was changing and that her health journey was concerning. And so I returned back to Colorado, where I had moved into a brand new house. I had a full-time job. I packed my car, I put everything in storage, and I was back for Christmas last year. And a year later, my mom has lost most of her freedoms due to ALS. And we chose to co-house together here in Ely last May. I moved her up from Brainerd. And so here in town, we were able to plant a garden together after being apart for so many years. So I do want to recognize that while I'm a finished stoic individual who often thrives on independence and
Yes, you.
being strong, many people in Ely have stepped forward and offered me support and care and some kind of shoulder to lean on through some of these struggles that my mom and I have experienced over the last year. She is now in care, and I have just moved out to a large property for the summer where I can plant more gardens and frolic a bit more with Fern. But as I was starting to think about what I wanted to say today, a pigeon walked up my front steps last night. And I was like, did I pack a city pigeon from Ely and move it out to the country with me by accident? And he stayed for 24 hours. I think he's actually still there. So I might have given him water and a piece of bread, but you know, I told my friend, I was like, man, this pigeon has been here. And she's like, well, do you feel like you found home? And I said, well, and so I remember that, you know, pigeons being quite the messenger and quite the reminder of no matter the distance, they will eventually find their way back home. And so for me, I felt like maybe that's what this cute little pigeon was saying last night, that I have found my way back home. So you can find me currently probably frolicking out on this property and planting plants and making remedies this summer. I'm also the director at the Pebble Spa and learning how to do massage therapy there as well. I'm teaching at the folk school and part of the backyard herbalism crew. And yeah, still planting those seeds about lakeside land where I can grow my own gardens again, but we'll see. Be continuing with that. But that is me. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Tracy. Next up is a couple that Kay Vandervoort introduced me to, Chuck and Jennifer Geist.
Get there.
Great visual aid.
Good.
Hi, I'm Chuck Geist. This is my wife Jennifer. We moved here permanently to Ely 1 year ago, beginning of June in 2024. But we're not strangers to Ely. We've been coming up here since early 80s, back right about when we were married, which will be 43 years tomorrow. We both had a love of fishing when we were little kids. Our fathers, we didn't know each other at the time, but they would take us out fishing. My dad took me to fish for bullheads and catfish, and Jennifer's dad had her fishing for white bass and perch, I think in Wisconsin. So I came up here because I was in industrial sales, and I stopped at the mines in Hibbing and Virginia and those places, Mountain Iron. So I asked, where's a neat place to go up here? And one of the guys said, go up to Ely. So I drove to Ely, took a look at the place, and I said, wow, we like this place. So Jennifer and I, we started renting a place. We first stayed at Timber Trail out on County Road 16, back when the Clages, I don't know if you know the names, but they used to own the place back then. And we stayed there for a week. Didn't know what we were doing as far as fishing for the good stuff, walleyes and the big northerns. Didn't, but we learned and started coming back every year. I know the folks that own Lakeview Lodge, we stayed at Olson Bay almost every year for I got 15, 20 years for a week with the Fleischmans that owned it. Got to be very good friends with them. And the folks that owned it afterwards, your aunt, I think, yep, the DeToffels, and then Benny, and then Mike, and then now the new folks. So we stayed at Creekside Cabin, which had a little creek going right next to it over there at Olson Bay. So yeah, so we always been coming up here. We finally bought a place in 2020 over on Sunset Road, White Iron Lake. And it's called Sunset Road for a reason. If anybody's been down there at 7:30, 8 o'clock on a sunny evening, that's the reason it's called Sunset Road. So it's a really cool place. Now you can talk. Feel free.
Okay, I don't have much more to add, except when we first bought our place on Sunset, it was definitely a cabin. It was small and yeah, just we turned it into a lake home with the help of our construction guy, Rod Gruba. We turned it into a really nice lake home that we can live in year round. But we choose not to live in year round because as nice as we like the winter up here, or younger, we bought a place in Florida too. So we go there for 6 months and let's put
And
up.
we're here for 6 months.
Yeah. So we wanted to show you a few pictures of how things have changed. This is Chuck on one of our fishing trips.
The first one, I was so proud of that 12-ounce smallmouth bass.
But we weren't sure what it was, whether it was a northern walleye or what in the world is on that stringer. And then we went from that to
Upside down.
this.
And that was hers last fall. So she eclipsed her father's record catch in his mind.
My dad caught a 36-inch northern back when I was small. And I remember looking up at the wall and thinking, oh man, if I could ever even get close to catching one like that. And I caught a 38-inch last week. So
she beat him.
I beat my dad.
And our son, who comes and visit us, he's a pilot for Delta Airlines. And he comes and visits us, and the week after opener, he caught a 43 northern, which and that's pretty big even for up here. So
Well, I'm now in awe of my son.
yeah.
But
But-
we do love it up here. We're so happy to be a part of you guys. And everyone we meet is just so friendly and welcoming and we thank you so much.
Yeah, we've got to know a lot of folks in town, and we're still looking forward to getting to know more people. Jennifer started a Mahjong group at the senior center. I mean, community center as of June 1 is what we've been told. So she meets that meeting on Thursdays at noon. If anybody likes to play Mahjong
Or wants to learn.
or wants to learn, she has that every Thursday over at the center. So thank you for letting us say hello, and we're glad to be part of the community. Thank you very much.
All right, next up, I can't recall how I met Anita. Probably through Facebook or some social media, but Anita Nora.
Oh, thanks. I didn't know about the pictures and all that stuff, so I will do my best. Oh, I don't love public speaking, so it's a stretch. Thanks so much for having me here. I have deep roots in the range. My dad was raised in Embarrass, so I'll be interested to chat with you. And my mom was raised in Biwabic. And I also have lots of cousins and family. I'll be walking through Biwabic and see somebody or all over the area. I grew up in the Minneapolis area, but spent every summer of my childhood up north here. Our family has had a cabin on Vermilion probably since the early 50s. And when my dad passed away 2 years ago, my husband, Scott, is back. We didn't know this was a together thing either. That's so, but he has a different story, so he'll tell it sometime. We inherited the cabin. So we raised 3 wonderful kids. Our oldest, Josh, is married in Madison, Wisconsin, to his lovely wife, Alice. Our middle son, Ben, is 27 and is working towards recapturing carbon on a PhD in Corvallis, Oregon, with his beloved Robin. And then our youngest Bree is 25 and she lives in Bozeman, Montana. And she is working for a medical device company and launching her own prosthetic startup. So they're out in the world and they're really our pride and joy. And I'm very lucky to work remotely. Well, we are lucky that we can work remote. We own and operate 2 crafting retreat centers located near Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So it's a really happy job to provide spaces for pretty much 99% women who quilt or scrapbook or paint or drink wine or do puzzles, all kinds of fun things. Yeah. So it'll be our 20th anniversary this September. So that has allowed us to be mobile, which has been great. And COVID really showed us like, oh, we don't need to live here. We could be up north. So the summer before last, Scott and I sold our large home and 95% of our possessions and moved into our very tiny family little round cabin on Lake Vermilion. It's essentially a hard-sided yurt with windows. It's a beautiful view. It's really tiny. It has literally 1.5 closets. And so I buy a skein of yarn and I'm like, where is this gonna live? I mean, it's really felt liberating and really good to seriously downsize. Although if you looked in our garage and leave to, you wouldn't think we have. So, so we were also in need of a place to heal after getting our youngest daughter, Bree, launched. Bree battled 2 bouts of childhood cancer. So the first when she was 11 and then again at 18. And the second cancer was caused from radiation from the treatment for the first. And so after a total of 2 years at the Mayo Clinic, watching our baby endure this hell, and 14 years of scans, which caused a lot of anxiety. Each scan is, many people deal with this. Then she had her lower right leg amputated at 18 and relearning to walk twice. Anyways, it's been a journey. And so just to let you know, she's not only doing well, she is thriving. She is training to climb Mount Cotopaxi in Ecuador in this October, almost a 20,000 foot mountain. She's a ski instructor. She's an excellent mountain biker. She's 7 years out. She's awesome. Ooh, wonderful young woman. Yeah, she just, yeah, it was great. So, you know, I don't know if I'll ever fully heal from that PTSD from what we went through, but the past few years have been really healing. We moved up here, gosh, it will almost be 2 years, but we've been pretty secluded. We've really kind of turtled for a couple years and just kind of catching our breath. So it's just being on the lake and the water and just being up here, you know, we have birds that eat out of our hands. There's so much wildlife and just watching the light change on the water every day has been deeply healing. So the other big part of my life, what I've really always been drawn to is creativity. You know, hence the crafting retreat houses. But you know, as a kid, I would start out laying out logs, creating floor plans in the woods. And then if a friend came along, I'd do an addition. And, you know, we did all the things. And so I really, really love building. And then my parents were commercial builders. And so I helped a lot with them in the cities. And then as an adult, I've redesigned many spaces, built some from scratch, some for myself, some for others. I love breathing life into a new space, thinking about how it flows and how it, you know, so we built these crafting retreat houses. And then we had a spiritual retreat center that we ran for 10 years in Eau Claire, which we sold when we sold 95% of everything to move up here. So, but for 10 years, my husband Scott was kind of the anchor and held space. He's a retired pastor. And was a really amazing space. It had like 40 practitioners, everything from dance and a pottery studio in the basement and meditation and yoga and therapists and energy healers. And it was really a very cool space. Didn't make any money, but it was a very cool space. So, but kind of my proudest creation, most recently is I built a traditional Finnish sauna this past winter. I am a proud Finn. And so with the help of a contractor cousin that lives up here, but it was really satisfying to actually swing the hammer. And everything else I've done, I've hired people, I've just been the general, but to actually build it and then sit in there and take steam is deeply satisfying. And I took a class at the Ely Folk School and I learned how to make sauna hats, which I love this folk school, so great. So now I have 7 sauna hats sitting there, and when the kids come, everybody gets one. So now that I've kind of emerged from our a couple years of healing and solitude, I've been thinking a lot about what is next creatively and how to build meaningful community. And I'm really an extrovert at heart and need community to thrive, and as we all do, I think. So I'm just ready to jump back in. And I've already met a lot of really wonderful, amazing people here in the Ely community, makers, artists, healers, outdoor enthusiasts. And so I look forward to meeting more of you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anita. So we're gonna take a quick pivot here. Samantha Barton is here from EBCNH and wants the EBCH.
Yeah.
And wants to give us a little update on what's going on at the hospital. Slides.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, Well, I haven't done a PowerPoint since like 8th grade, so hopefully this works. But yeah, my name is Samantha Barton. I've been a registered nurse with the hospital for about 13 years now. But in past 7 years, I have taken a role with, I work full-time in the surgery department. And we're always looking for ways to plug our hospital and our surgery department. And not that long ago, I did the hospital focus group that they were working on. And I met you there. And I was telling someone I had to like bite my tongue a couple times because I kept hearing community members be like, well, I wish we had this. And I'm like, we have it. But that wasn't what the community focus group was about. So I went back to that and talked with my boss and team leader of surgery, Becky Johnson. And we're like, we just want to tell people what we offer because I think we offer quite a bit for a small town. But like most hospitals, you don't usually use them till you need them. But a lot of our services, are screening services or surgeries that you absolutely can have done here. So so EBCH is a critical access hospital here. One thing is that we are privately owned. I mean, we're a nonprofit hospital. We do a lot of stuff with Essentia, but we are not a part of Essentia, which also lets us kind of pull from different other hospitals and get providers up here. So, a clicker. Oh, look at me. That's us. That's what I usually look like when you see me. But again, we offer a wide variety of services. We have state-of-the-art technology. We have a Da Vinci robot, an XI, which I think Virginia Hospital just got that one a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so again, just because we live in Ely does not mean that we don't have these services. We 100% do. And we also have quite a bit of just staff as long as with surgery. We have the full physical therapy department and a specialty clinic, which I will go through. So this is Dr. John Bollins. I just wanted to put your face because I work in pre-op, and I can't tell you how many people I say, do you know who you're seeing today? And they go, I never met him. So these are some of the people that you may be having surgery with. It blows my mind. But this is Dr. John Bollins. He is one of our general surgeons at the hospital. we partnered with Advanced Surgical Associates of Northern Minnesota. That is his company that he owns. He used to be a trauma surgeon out of St. Luke's and left St. Luke's to start his own private practice. But he is here usually every other Monday through Wednesday. I have this handout of what we offer, so I'm not going to go through all of it. But he is a general surgeon, so he does a wide range of surgeries. I would say up here, he usually does would be like excisions of lesions, so skin cancers, and then also like hernia repairs. He mainly does those with a robot. But again, Dr. Bones, you could ask any of your providers at the clinic for a general surgery referral. And he then also sees people in the hospital side. We have a specialty clinic and he sees patients there. This is Dr. David Fedor. We partner with Essentia Health for him. He's a general surgeon out of Essentia, Virginia. He's been coming up, it says 2 to 3 Fridays a month, but he's been really getting his practice up there. You see him at the Ely clinic, but then you would see us with him down in the surgery department. He has been absolutely great. And yeah, so a lot of times too, if there is a bigger surgery, he brings you down to Virginia, but your follow-up care can be done here. And then, yeah, I would say if we see mostly for him, again, some hernia repairs, but he does a lot of the colonoscopies and upper endoscopies as well. This is Dr. Melissa Nigerian. She is a colorectal surgeon and general surgeon out of Essentia, Virginia. She's here on Fridays. She's one of our only female general providers. Dr. Nigerian is very popular up here and she books out. Like I think she's booked out till October right now. She's an absolutely wonderful provider that we have here and we've been grateful that she continues to come up here. She is mainly known for her colonoscopy and upper endoscopy, hernia repair. And then, yeah, but she's another one too. We've had a lot of her surgeries. She does her larger ones down in Duluth, but again, all of her follow-up care, you know, can be close to home, which is great. To kill me for that picture, and I couldn't find anything else on Google. This is Dr. McKee. I told him, I said, he goes, you picked that one? I said, that's what you gave me. So this is Dr. Daniel McKee. He's out of Northland Gastroenterology out of Duluth. And I've been in surgery for 7 years and this is going on his 2nd year with Ely. But we finally have a gastroenterologist, which is huge. That's a specialty that has not really been offered up here in quite a while. I do not believe the Essentia Clinic is offering a gastroenterologist, but if you see your primary care, they can definitely refer to you for one. For a while, the closest one was going down to Duluth because Virginia also just had one on standby, but he's been absolutely great. He also does clinic at the hospital. So if you have any, you know, history of Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, things that don't just need endoscopy, but also just the follow-up care. He's great for seeing that. And Dr. Joe Schwinghammer, he is a family practice doctor. Yeah, so he's a family practice doctor here at the clinic, which I think, again, this is like small town Ely. He's amazing. And he also does endoscopy and colonoscopy though. So again, for continuity of care, he's great. He can talk in like layman's terms, like not many doctors can do. So he comes up though down in surgery about usually every Wednesday per month is when he sees us. This is Dr. Sam Harms. He's an orthopedic surgeon. We partner with Orthopedic Associates with Dr. Harms. We also have his physician assistants that come up. He co-owns Orthopedic Associates and has his own surgery. He owns his own surgery center in Duluth, Duluth Surgical Suites. So he does do surgeries here in Ely, but just smaller carpal tunnels, trigger finger releases. But he also does a lot of joint injections at our specialty clinic. And then also he does his hips usually in Hibbing in Duluth. But again, all your follow-up care and physical therapy we set up through the hospital, which I think is great. And the hospital also has been working really hard on a swing bed stay, which is when people have surgeries done, but they need the extended portion of their stay. So instead of, you know, recovering from a hip or a larger surgery in Duluth, the Ely Hospital has been trying really hard to set up the program so you can do your rehab in Ely. And we have like no double rooms. It's just great up here. And I had my grandmother do it. My mother has done it. And I think there's something about healing close to home and just having family members that are able to come visit you and see you instead of being 2 hours away. So that program's doing really well. This is Dr. Kuzel. He is an orthopedic surgeon with Essentia Health. He sees patients at the Ely Clinic, usually one Monday, sometimes 2 Mondays a month. And then he also does just smaller procedures down in the surgery department, like the carpal tunnel release, trigger fingers. And this is Dr. Katie Evans. She's podiatry. She is the owner of Range Foot and Ankle out of Virginia. She does surgeries here. Bunionectomies, Achilles tendons, ankle fusions, pretty much anything from the knee down is what Dr. Katie Evans handles. And then she does clinic as well. So for toenails or anything like that, I remember I used to have to bring my grandmother all the way down to Virginia. It's something that you can have done here. And she offers it out of the clinic. And then, yeah, that's what we have. So again, I hope that you guys can see we have quite a bit. And again, these are just our surgeons and surgery department. They still offer physical therapy, cardiac rehab. They do infusion therapy. But again, just wanted to put it out there. These are things that you usually don't look into until you need it. So yeah, we just ask that you ask your primary care provider if you have something that needs to be done. Most of the specialty clinics do not require referral, but always check with your insurance for that. But I appreciate you having me. And if you have any questions or I have this packet of just what we offer, I'll just leave it on the back table back there. But yeah, hopefully I see you guys more in the community than at work. You're welcome.
Thank you, Sam. All right, next up, Kay Carter. A real, yes, and a real new Elyites since January. Yeah. Any.
This is good. Hi, I'm Kay Carter. Samantha just left, but I think I woke up to her in post-op like 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know, you're in a small town when you're like, oh, look, I remember you from surgery. My name's Kay Carter. I am the new pastor at the United Methodist Church here in Ely, called Ely United Methodist Church, in case you were wondering. I am a military brat, grew up in 9 states and 4 countries, and have found myself here. I did spend 4 years in Norway when I was in middle school and high school. The weather is not a complete shock to me. Let's see, went to college in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins. I studied international studies, national security issues with a Russian minor. And then in my sophomore year, the Soviet Union collapsed. And that kind of put a kibosh on my Pentagon career. Nothing I had studied made sense anymore. So I ended up going to seminary in Southern California, Claremont School of Theology. I've been ordained for 30 years next year because I'm old, and have served 20 years in Southern California, 10 years in the state of Virginia, and then just moved up here to Ely with my husband, Ian Ritchie, in January. We had never been here before until they interviewed us came up in December. This past December, it was negative 30 degrees outside. And yet we loved it. The people were so warm, we didn't even notice. The weather And so basically, in the Methodist Church, usually you are moved around by the bishop. You don't pick where you go. So I've never really had that luxury, except when you move from conference to conference, and you can talk to the bishop in the other conference about what you're looking for. And we wanted to move to Minnesota, and I said I was looking for a town where we would feel welcome and there would be work for my husband and that had a sense of community. And they said, boy, do we have the town for you. And so literally we interviewed in mid-December, and I was appointed here January 15th. So we've been here just a little less than 6 months. Let's see. That was about it. Oh, kids. So Ian and I have been married for three, coming up on 3 years.
We can say 3.
We can say 3, approximately 3 years. We have a total 4 children between us from former marriages, all young adults, one of whom lives with us here in Ely and is starting at what was formerly known as VCC, I guess, in this fall, studying wilderness and park management, I think. He's very excited about that. And I am at Ely United Methodist Church, and you are always welcome to join us on Sunday mornings. And we do a drop-in Bible study on Tuesday mornings at the Sheridan Deli that I call Bible in the Blue Room, because we read Bibles and we're in the Blue Room at the front of the Sheridan Deli. So that seemed appropriate. And I'm on YouTube every week if you want to just check us out and see like whether you want to hear me or not. That's a good way to do that. And I like reading and crafting and all sorts of things. And I love my husband Ian, who's going to talk about himself because we had 50 years not together. So he has a lot to say about himself. So step on up.
Okay, I shall do that. Hello, everybody. Like a few of us here, I'm not really good at public speaking, or I don't enjoy it. So, but to kind of dovetail off of her, I just got back from Virginia. My youngest graduated high school with honors, and so I'm very proud. Kind of riding that high coming back here. But I also went out there, thank you. But I also went out there and got a good dose of Virginia pollen that I hadn't been used to in a while, and came back here to a bomb that exploded. So I got a cocktail. But pardon my voice. But I'm from Virginia, the state. I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley in a town called Harrisonburg. So when we came here, there was like a lot of nostalgia. There, our boundary waters is the Appalachian Trail. And so seeing the outfitters and stuff is really like this really kind of shot of, like I said, nostalgia. I grew up there and basically spent my childhood there, went to JMU, was more focused on playing rock music, figuring I would do that for a living. And as a necessity became a cook because it's the easiest job you can get. Back then it was. And I ended up loving it. So that's basically what I've done for 30 years. I've was fortunate enough to work under a pretty couple remarkable chefs and a couple really cool places that made me start taking it seriously. In my 20s, I sneered at it a little bit, thought it was for fancy people. But then I kind of got the fever, as they say, and basically spent the majority of my adult life in Richmond, Virginia, with my first wife and our 2 kids, both of whom are about to be launched. That's kind of brings us up, kind of maybe.
He's a really good chef. You
Well, yeah,
executive chef
well,
by the time you finish.
yeah,
Before we moved here.
yes, I was.
He will say chef is something you do, not something you are. So he's like, well, I'm not a chef right now. I'm like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, I mean, that's semantics, I guess. It is what I do for a living, and I get a lot of fulfillment out of it. And as she'll tell you, she would tell you, I go through rabbit holes where you'll eat the same thing. It's about to be chicken pot pie for about 2 or 3 weeks.
We had an amazing chicken pot pie for dinner last night. I will say that was to die for.
So, and like her, to echo what she said, we came up here and immediately fell in love with it. To also echo David, who first spoke, I was getting sicker and sicker of the heat and the humidity. And it seemed like I kept moving further south. And I said, well, this will fix that if we come up to Minnesota. That's a good solution. So I like it. Some people have been like, how do you deal with the cold? I'm like, I love it so far. I mean, things could change. I could get sick of it. But so coming here, I hope to apply my wares and find a way to apply it. I have a couple ideas. There's one building in town in particular I really want. And I'll keep that secret for now. But I was also fortunate enough to help out Robin Bertelson. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. With the Mother's Day thing. And that was really fulfilling and fun. I enjoyed that.
He made little tiny tarts
I made
that,
tarts.
so for 2 weeks, I ate so many little tiny tarts. He'd be like, well, what if I did the cheese this way? Or what if it has pancetta? Or what if,
Well,
okay.
they got to be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I'm going to wrap that up with that, I guess. But yeah, we love it here. We love it here. I mean, this place is great. And we're just stoked to be here. And everyone's been really welcoming. Not to focus on the negative, but the last place wasn't quite as welcoming, and this has been completely opposite.
We're cultural refugees from the South.
Yeah,
And thank you
so-
for the
So
thank
we're
you for the welcome.
very happy to be here. So,
Well, we do have a couple of welcoming events on the docket. So Boundary Waters Connect has a tradition of hosting a barbecue to celebrate the 4th of July holiday. So y'all can mark your calendars for Thursday, July 3rd. We're gonna have a barbecue catered in the Chapman Street Commons Pocket Park. It's not technically a new resident social, but our new resident socials tend to be at the Ely Folk School. We have one scheduled for October 1st. The location isn't confirmed yet, but so the new resident social events all are welcome, but we always say the agenda is we're gonna be nice to the new people. Which of course happens naturally, but so the next official new resident social is on October 1st. And then the Boundary Waters Connect barbecue is a gathering in honor of the 4th of July holiday and that Ely is such a vibrant place to spend the 4th of July holiday. So we wanted to get in on that fun. That wraps our program for today. Please make sure when you see some of these new folks in the grocery store that you say hi. Unless they're giving you nonverbals that say, don't say hi to me. Looking forward to seeing y'all here next week. Have a good one.